Welcome to This Could Have Been a Podcast. I am Clarice, and I started this because so many of the conversations I've had felt too good not to share. They could have totally been a podcast. Here I sit down with people I've met along the way, people I've connected with through deep talks, unexpected moments, or just pure curiosity. We talk about our journeys, relationships, projects, passions, and the big questions we all quietly carry. It's a space to empty the mind, reflect, and hopefully connect with yourself, with others, or just with a thought that sticks. And even if one sentence resonates with you, then that's already more than enough. Thank you for listening and welcome.
I can illustrate.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 6th episode of This Could Have Been a Podcast. This is also the first episode of 2026. And I kind of made a promise to myself that I would stay more consistent this year. So let it be a promise. And I also invested in some great mics. I hope you can tell the difference and that the sound is going to be better in the next episodes. But today we're receiving Karolina. I've met Karolina a few months ago, actually almost a year ago. We clicked straight away. We have the most amazing, deep, profound, all over the place conversations. So it just felt right to have her here. Today we're going to talk about breakup, friendship, and a bunch of other subjects. And hopefully we stayed in topic and it will reflect. We really tried our best. So have a great listening and let me know what you think. Don't hesitate to send me your feedback. I will really appreciate. Thank you so much. Enjoy.
Cute. Okay. Hi, my name is Karolina. I'm from Finland, but I live in Berlin. I moved here 7 years ago for love, and now I work here.
That's a very short and amazing introduction. I'm so happy to have you. We've been meaning to do this podcast 6 months ago already. When did we met actually? When was the month? I was trying to remember.
Yeah, me too. But I think for sure a year ago.
When are you born?
March. So yeah, I think it was a year ago almost exactly, because in March, I think we met in February, so a year ago.
Yeah, because you invited me to your
January.
birthday and it was quite early.
Yeah.
And then I remember coming to your birthday and people were like, "Are you the girl from
Pilates?" I think maybe for sure we have known each other for a year, I feel.
Yeah, now it's gonna be a year.
Anniversary.
Imagine maybe
Maybe
we should have to watch the picture.
Maybe it's
I mean,
exactly.
not that we took a picture, but I remember that I think that day I took a picture of the studio and then I forgot to sign up to log in,
Yep.
Anyways,
We have to figure this out. I think it's a year.
let's talk about how we met. I think it's a very cute story. I can tell about what happened on my side and then you can talk. Because I think for me it was very intentional and for you it was just random.
I didn't know this at the time, but yes.
Because I mean, I think I talked about this in another podcast, which is crazy because I didn't know you that well yet, even though we started talking pretty fast. But I was listening to a podcast about, I don't even know what was the title, but one sentence stayed with me, which was usually we don't necessarily meet up with people or connect with people because we don't dare to ask the second question, which means you meet people and then you just stop there. You just, okay, and he was giving the example of you're in the elevator and then you just say, what's your floor? And then that's it. And if you ask the second question, you might end up in a conversation and then making friends with people. And I don't know, I just listened to this in the morning and I was just like, whatever, but it kind of stayed with me. And then in the evening, I was going to this Pilates class. I think it was my first time in this class, but not in the studio. And you were here early and I was here early.
Never happen again.
Yeah, which is funny because we're both kind of late. And then I think you just asked me if the door was open or something. And then I just said no. And then I was thinking about the podcast and I was like, ask the second question. And then I was like, is it your first time here? And then that's it. I think I just got you there. And that was a beautiful hook. And after that, we started, I think literally we had 5-6 minutes
Yeah.
for the class. and we knew everything about each other already.
Yeah. I knew where you're from, where you work. You knew where I work, where I'm from. I invited you to my summer cottage because they had a sauna.
Yeah,
So there was something about a sauna on the door,
true.
something about a poster. This I remember because we started talking about your company and yeah.
Exactly.
But I didn't know it was intentional. I thought it was very nice. And then we actually met up for the same Pilates
Yeah.
every Wednesday, basically,
Yeah.
in the beginning. Now less so, but it's like that's how it started. So that was very cute and
Yeah.
intentional. I mean, not from my side, but
And we also, because you told me you wanted to work in my company, so I was like, let's exchange
yeah,
Instagram. Like
exactly.
I was very, and when I mean it was intentional, I didn't mean like you were my experiment
yeah.
or something, which basically. But I just felt like it's such a nice opportunity right now. You look nice, you look beautiful, you look interesting from the outside. You're going to a Pilates class. Like it never happened to me that I really connected with someone at Pilates
Yeah,
just
same.
randomly. You just come in and come
Yeah.
out. And so I was like, it's an interesting moment to just make it happen, you know? And I was really like, okay, you're exactly the type of person I want to be friend with. I know it sounds superficial, but it's like
Yeah.
you're going to the same class as me. You dress well, you know, stuff that are superficial at the beginning when you want to make friends anyway. And you were very smiley.
I remember I was having a really bad day, so I actually don't think I felt that smiley, but it's really nice that you say that. But I think for me, it was a really nice experience to see because, again, no one meets people at Pilates. And I think I haven't met people in a Pilates class since, but I have since then like met more people doing hobbies, which I didn't do before. So this was really like an eye-opening thing for me as well that it's possible to
What
go
changed,
somewhere.
like in your approach, or
I think really the fact that like I mean I didn't know like it really the fact that it works this one time I was like, oh, this is also an opportunity, like this is possible,
yeah,
like it just wasn't a concept in my head that a person can, I was like, you can meet people in a club, you can meet them at school, work,
yeah,
but not in a workout class. But now it's more like, so maybe I'm also more open to either approach people or be open to be approached because yeah, if you're just there on your phone or whatever, no one's gonna say hi.
But that's I think I can really tell when my energy is completely like I don't want to meet anyone
Yeah.
because it happens often. But remember when remember like maybe one or two class after how we were like, so who else can we meet? And we started talking randomly to other people because we felt and we felt so strongly that
This
we
is
felt
the start of a no, we said hi to everyone, but in a bit of a psychotic, hysterical way, like nice to meet you. And everyone was a bit scared, I feel, and I didn't hang out with these people.
yeah,
Wonder
like
why.
ever. No, but
Like, see you
and there's
next
this one girl where we ask her name
yeah, exactly.
and then we're like, see you next week.
And she never came back.
Yeah,
I had seen her before. Like I think I saw her. Then we said like, "See you again," and she never came back.
and there's this thing where like it can be very be like annoying to know people where you want to go often.
Yeah.
That could be. But you know what happened to me? I didn't tell you this, but 2 weeks ago I went to, or last week, I don't know. I think it was 2 weeks ago. Went back to Pilates and I saw a girl I did my internship with 8-9 years ago in Berlin.
That's crazy.
And I saw her and I recognized her instantly. And then at the end of the class, I was like, hey. And then I said her name and she was like, she said my name.
Yeah.
I mean, we have each other on LinkedIn, so I guess she saw
Liked
my
it.
activity and she remembered because of this. I don't know. I mean, that wasn't the case for me. And then she was like, yeah, I just love this teacher. She's my favorite teacher and I'm coming here every Wednesday.
But that's not true.
And I was like, are you shitting me? Are you fucking kidding me?
I have had this where one of my best friend's girlfriend was like, I go every Wednesday to this one class and it's my favorite. And then she said the name of the instruction. I was like, I go every Wednesday and I've never, and she told me she's been going for a year. I'm not saying she's lying. I'm saying we're there every week. I have never seen her. So now we intentionally went together once, but that's the only time I've seen her. So either
Do you think it's when we're missing the class, they're coming in?
yeah, but then it's crazy. I also go really quite often.
Maybe it's that thing again with like how,
You're not meant to see some
yeah,
people. And
you
then it's a
know,
bit
how they
creepy.
don't cross your path if you're
Yeah.
not, like, because for us, I mean, you know, it's like we're both very late to class.
Yeah.
There's no other day we would have met but that day.
This is like you're sometimes late, yes, but generally on time. I have never in my life been, I'm not kidding. I've never been 6 minutes on time for a class ever. I'm not exaggerating. Never, ever, ever. It's either exactly on time or late. So really for me, this was like destiny because the 6 minutes has never happened before.
It
Maybe
was
I'm doing
crazy.
it more.
I was every week after this, I was like, how did we even met?
And also because it was just the two of us. And then when we started talking, suddenly there was a bunch of people. And really everything was like very destined. What's the word?
Meant to be.
Yeah, there's a word for this, but it's too fancy.
Face.
Yeah, yeah.
But, like, it was so funny because I think we also had, it's like basically when you need to have an office crush to be motivated to go to the office. It was the same with this Pilates teacher. I think we were obsessed with her.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She has a great aura.
Great
She
vibe.
makes us sweat, but like in a perfect way. Like I've never felt like it was a shitty class.
Yeah.
And I've never felt like it was too much. I felt it a lot actually. But
Yeah.
in a good way, you know? Like I've never, she's just has this her way.
Honestly, it's a perfect class. I don't want to say what time and which studio because I don't want it to be even more popular because it's already very popular. You have to book 2 weeks in advance. That's why you're not going tomorrow.
But I can put myself on I was about to say on guest list.
Yes. VIP.
I mean, I feel like really going to Pilates is a bit like it gives you a bit like where you stand in society. Like the fact that we're like front row, always like worshipping her. I mean, it's
a joke, but it's not really there's a meta.
Actually that can take us to like, do you believe in like random friendship? Like, or do you think it's always work? Or do you think like, because for me, I always feel like I either click with someone or I don't. And I have a very hard time to slowly build up to create a friendship with someone.
Yeah, I think it's the first because that's always happened to me. And if I haven't liked someone in the beginning and I kind of like force myself to like someone because they, I don't know, we're in the same flat, like at uni or like in the same course, it has sometimes happened that I then eventually started liking them. But eventually I always like, the reality was that we were not meant to be friends, so it always fell apart at some point. Even if there was no fight, we just mutually realized like we really don't get along because of the things that initially made us not click.
Yeah.
So I think you can't force, it's like dating, you can't force chemistry. And it doesn't mean that the other person is like, maybe they're better people than me, but I just don't want to be friends with them. Like it's something that doesn't, the vibes are not there and then you can't really force it. So I think you know really quickly. Sometimes I haven't been friends with someone and it's grown on me, but it's more that I didn't know enough about them. But if I have had the feeling that I'm not vibing with someone, that's definitely always been correct.
I think,
later on.
I mean, with you, for example, when I met you, I'm going to say something that is a bit discriminatory. But when you told me you were Finnish, I rarely it's so bad. I cannot say.
I know what you're going to say. I know what's coming.
No, but it's like, I didn't expect that you would be that funny.
But I know what you mean. I think maybe not everyone knows what Finnish people are like. And I think they're great people. They're not
Great
famous
people.
they're really great, honest, lovely. I love Finnish people. They're
But you
not
had
known to be very funny.
It's not even about not being funny as a Finnish person. I think it was wrong to say that. It's more like I felt like you had a humor from somewhere else.
Okay, yeah.
And I think when you told me where you studied and everything, it made sense to me.
Okay, yeah.
Because I was like, you definitely have an amazing English, which I'm not saying like other people don't have a good English. And then it's like your English made you super witty, funny, and like understood joke quickly. You're so quick, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't have to like, you know, when you miss a joke and then you feel like,
yeah. Then it's
and this is what I felt straight away. And then I was like, you're hilarious. We can talk about anything. It's so easy and fast. And like, it's not the case all the time.
Yeah. I think it can even just be, and I'm going to say something is really stupid, but like, I feel like I speak too fast for a Finnish person. So everyone around me, even my family, whatever, thinks I speak too fast for Finn, which is one of the reasons
you speak too fast.
It pulls up, exactly. And then,
in a good way, I love that.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not so common in Finland. So I can often relate a bit more to Italians, French, Spanish, because they speak faster. It's a very small thing, but it makes the conversation flow better if both are equally fast. And if the other person is more calm, which is great, I'm just like overriding them and then it doesn't work. So maybe that.
I mean, I felt like when when we met, the way we were talking was just like we talked on top of each other, but we understood everything that we were saying and we were responding.
Yeah. And never finished a full sentence. It was very ADHD coded.
And so, and I really had a lot of moments where like I've met people, and I have this especially in my females friendship. I love to be surrounded by women and I love meeting great women, and there is those moments where like I wish we had clicked and it never just really clicked.
Yeah.
And then I always try my best at the beginning, very much and very intensely, I think, or like at least to be giving the benefit of the doubt that, and it's not, again, it's not about the other person. It's really about like, what can we bring to each other? But I don't know what it is.
But it's good that you try from the beginning because then you at least know that it wasn't meant to be. I think as long as you make an effort.
But sometimes you're stuck with some friendship.
But you can always get out. And you will eventually leave because you can't be friends with someone you're not meant to be friends with, but it can take 10 years. Like really sometimes it takes.
Yeah.
I
had this experience when I was younger that I was friend with a girl. And from the beginning I knew that something was a bit off. And we stayed friends forever.
What was wrong? Like, did you figure out what was off?
I don't know. I think we had different ways of envisioning the friendship. I think back in the days, when you were really like, you're my best friend. And then you had the feeling that you had to categorize everyone to a hierarchy.
Yeah.
And then it led to bad friendship in that sense because, I don't know, it was just a competition all the time of like, who's going to be your best friend? And then how are you going to show that? And then it was a lot of work. And I felt like it was a very demanding friendship, for example. And I felt put in a box right away or like asked to be someone that I couldn't be for that person. I don't know. And then it resulted into, and then, I mean, I think you grow up and then you learn that it's probably you trying to please.
Yeah, exactly. But that's actually, I haven't thought about that for a while, but it's true that up until high school, at least, like until quite late, but like your whole school life, it really is about best friend and let's say the top 10 friends. And it's crazy, it's stupid, but it's really like a rank and everyone's constantly re-ranking and really aware of it, even if no one says like, you are my third best friend, but it's really conscious and really, really important. And at some point, it doesn't matter anymore. So now I can't even exactly say who's number one, whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know when it stopped mattering because it really is this really silly ranking.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about this until you said it, that it's true. Like it was all about who's your best friend. You could lose entire friendships by someone saying, you're my second best friend, but not the very first one. Like it was the worst thing you could say to a girlfriend. Not with guy friends, it didn't matter so much, but with girls, it was really...
I remember saying to that friend that she was more like my big sister.
Yeah.
And she lost it.
And it's like a compliment. If now you said to someone, you're like my sister, that's a nice thing to say. But
I mean, now you can tell that only people who had like childhood best friend would keep saying it's my best. I mean, I do say like some people are my best friend in the sense of like I'm feeling really close to them. And I wouldn't say that about a coworker,
Yeah, of course.
But what we could talk about is definitely how you experience life maybe after a breakup. Like we don't have to talk about your breakup, we don't have to talk about a relationship, but like when you decided to move here for love and you say that at the beginning.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't work out because plans don't necessarily work out. But then how your life kind of turn around and like you also have like you made beautiful friendship. You met amazing men probably along the way. You're dating and everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's my life, so I think it's interesting. But I think it's a good question because I feel like, so very briefly, I moved here, like I said, I think 7 years ago. First of all, to study, had my wild studying actually only 6 months, but a lot of things happened in those 6 months because I wasn't working. I was just like partying and enjoying Berlin. And that's when I met my ex. And I feel like I was meant to move back home to Finland and then decided to stay in Berlin. But I think, so we were together for a long time, I think 6 years, lived together, had a lot of fun, but had already kind of settled down a bit in the sense that we lived together. And then we had a very dramatic, very, very, very sudden breakup out of really the blue, I think, for everyone, including ourselves. And I think since then is really how I experienced the real moving to Berlin kind of. I mean, I was here already, but it was really like that's when I started my single solo Berlin life.
Was it the first time you were single?
In Berlin, yes. I mean, when I moved to Berlin, I was single, but I quite quickly started dating my ex. Yeah, I moved here single, but I think when I was doing Erasmus, it's a bit different. Like you're really, people hold your hand and you know exactly what your agenda is like, etc. So yeah, I moved here single, but yeah, it felt like it was the first time I was really single in Berlin. I have lived abroad since I was 18, so I also lived in Scotland before and in southern Germany, but I was always somehow dating someone. So it was also really the first time that I was fully alone. And when I say alone, I actually felt interestingly quite alone because I was together with my ex for so long and we studied together that our entire friendship group was like 100% mutual, really almost 100%. And of course, we knew each other's families and everything. So in 6 years, you get so intertwined that when you suddenly then break up, it's really, really difficult because actually, not that you lose the friendships, but it's very difficult to be friends initially with the same people.
Yeah.
He also lives with my friends now. So it was really, really difficult to avoid each other. So I really started from scratch, which is something I wanted to do. I told my friends like, hey, I need a bit of a break. It's something personal. But I really was like, okay, this is my single era. I'm going to start from zero. And I really started from zero. And I think in a relatively short time, I would say like 3 months, I found my like initial group of completely new friends. And from there,
wait,
it grew.
You kept your flat.
Yes.
So you had this as a base. Like you had a home.
Yeah.
Which is very important.
That's important, yeah.
So you kept your flat and then you became a stranger to all the common friends you had.
Yeah, or not a stranger, but it was very difficult to see them.
Yeah.
Because I also didn't want to because it would have been with my ex, etc. So really consciously and because of the situation, like I started from zero, but I kept the flat. But that was also difficult because of the memories, whatever. But at least I had a base that was important, and I kept my job, which I think is good because after the breakup, I really was like, okay, I'm gonna move to. I think at the time I wanted to move to Italy. I really was super close to like buying a flight the next day, leaving, and I was like already buying tickets. And it was one of the mutual friends who I'm still friends with. He was like, listen, don't leave now because you've lost a relationship. You lost another friends, but it's difficult to hang out with the same friends. If you now move to a new country and change jobs, you have like nothing common with your old life. And at the first time I was like, no, that's not true, blah, 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 I'm going to go. But then I think I slept on it and I was like, listen, I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
1 week, I think, or something. And now it's been almost 2 years and I really enjoy Berlin and it's very difficult to leave because now I feel like now I've settled in again to my new.
What was like your first memory of like the first person you've met after the breakup or like the first light of that you're going to build something for yourself from now on, kind of?
Yeah, maybe I'm trying to think. So I met a lot of new people. Because I think if you're in a long relationship, like, and you have a lot of mutual friends, you don't really need to meet new people. You do sometimes meet people, but it doesn't feel like it's something that happens every month even. Like you meet maybe a few new people every year. So I even had this mindset that like you can't find, I don't know, 30 new friends in even a year.
It's funny that you had this limiting belief about like how many people you can meet and where you can meet them.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And then everything was actually, so really it is only about mindset, but I think I wasn't as active as I could have been because I was also going through the breakup. But just kind of consciously thinking like, okay, I'm open to meeting new people. I was like, okay, it's actually super easy. I can't remember where. So I think when I met you, that was already like after the initial creation of a new friend group. But I think I met the first person maybe through like a run events or something. There was someone organizing this kind of, it wasn't a run club, but like a run brunch, something. And I met one person, and then from there, you obviously meet their friends, and then every week new people join, and at some point you have this big group, and then once you have an initial base of even like 3 people, then it grows. But I was quite surprised to see how quick it was. Like it literally, because it initially felt like, okay, it took me 6 years to meet all these amazing people. Now they're not gone, but like let's put them aside. Let's focus on new friends. you can really quickly create a new base. And I'm still friends with, I would say, all of the new friends that I have met, let's say, within the last 2 years, which is quite interesting as well, that they were not just like random acquaintances that you met, but you're still like, I see them regularly and they're good friends. So that's also quite interesting that it's possible to create like good friendships from.
Were you like intentional when you went to that running brunch thingy?
I really, because I know, I don't even now remember which one exactly it was. I think there were a few different events. I do remember I was thinking like, okay, I'm going to go alone on purpose because I knew if I went with a friend, like even a friend I knew or I knew a friend, you're always more likely to just be in the comfort zone. Exactly. You're in the comfort zone. You're like just talking to each other. And even if you're being friendly to other people, you're less likely to be approached. So that's what I've realized as well. If I go somewhere alone and I'm kind of in a mindset of being semi-open to being approached, you do get approached. And I found it really interesting because I used to think that this only happens like if you're a girl, that guys approach you to ask you out, which I also sometimes found quite annoying. I've really realized in the last 2 years, like if you go to places where there's girls who are amazing, I really love hanging out with girls, they will approach you with like a nice, like let's go for coffee. You just say yes, basically, and that's it. Like literally. Like
I mean, what's funny to me is like when we met, I thought you were intentional, and the reason I thought that is because when I went to your birthday, so you invited me to your birthday for brunch, and at first I was also like, oh, should I go? Should I not go? Not because of you, but I was like, okay, it's gonna be a lot of new people, but I was excited about this.
Yeah.
And then when I came in, and then people were like, you're the girl that goes to Pilates. And I was like, is that a setup? And when I asked them how did they met you, they all had a sport reason. It was like, we've met in a running club. And I was like, maybe you just talk to people when you go to these places. And then I was wondering if you ever thought about like, maybe you were like, okay, because even when we met, you also met those other people in sport event and everything.
Yeah, true. I think with this running thing, so disclaimer, I used to hate running clubs because I don't like running that much, but I run a lot. I don't like running with people, but I think the choice to go to a run club with people was at the time to be like, okay, let's meet friends. However, I think I met initially one friend and then the rest came through her, or like maybe I met two people and then, so yes, we all know each other from a run club, which sounds a bit creepy, but it's like two events. Like there's like
chasing
literally like there's 2 or 3 friends that I also know because they joined a run club, not with me, but with another friend. They've run once in their life, which was that run club, I wasn't there. And now it just all sounds like we all are crazy running enthusiasts. I have to say, after the breakup, went through a crazy phase where I ran like 8 half marathons in a year. I went through a bit of running away from my problems, but it worked. So
I don't think it's running away from your problems. I think running helps you to regulate. I don't know. Yeah, I think every time I've run, because I started running a bit before, and then I think I was running a bit when we met.
Yeah.
There's so many stuff that when we met activate stuff in me, in my life. Like stuff started in my life when I met you, after I met you.
Yeah.
And I always think about like how it was not a coincidence, because it's so fun. Like we don't meet up often, but we talk a lot, I feel like.
Yeah.
And we sometimes go into our deepest, darkest thing. I feel so comfortable to tell you stuff.
Yeah, I think I told you like my deepest breakup story, like something quite deep about the breakup, like the second time I met you, because we always like walk home. It's like 20 minutes, but if you're a fast talker, it really was like a free therapy session. I think the combination of Pilates and then talking about everything, really, it was something like insane. Like I felt really like cleansed afterwards every time.
I think the combo really was what I think it's maybe it's us. It's not really Pilates, but I always felt like the combo was great. And I remember that you were one of the first person ever that I told that I would do the podcast.
Yeah,
I think I told one friend at that point.
I was really, really excited because like I love this kind of.
You
I love people
me up.
Oh, that's good.
So much. And then I remember when I went to your birthday, I just got drunk and then I told everyone I was going to do a podcast.
True.
And all your friends were amazing and like hyped me up so much. And they were all like, can you send me the link, or can you?
Yeah.
Like,
I think all my friends, especially somehow, I think especially this group of friends, not to hate on my old friends there. I love them very, very much, like the ones from before the breakup. But I think there is something like everyone I've met since, it's like exceptionally, like I talk about this with them a lot. Like there's something really, really positive, and everyone is like, I think it's just like female friendships are like, they're so supportive, and it's not like fake.
Yeah.
Like you can say anything. It literally can be like literally anything, like a small idea, and you get so much like support, and it's really like, it's really incredible. And I think maybe I haven't had enough purely female friendships. I have always had female friends, but I haven't like appreciated how much, not to say it's deeper, but it is different than male female friendships. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, there's something about groups of females that is really like strong.
What do you think is like keeping your friendship so tight and like maintain? Because I think when we, especially when we move abroad, but like when we're on a, like we're going on our 30s, we're in our 30s now. Something about like maintaining a group that is very hard.
Yeah.
Like I've started to do so many shit in my schedule that I don't. I mean, if I didn't have my core group of friends already made,
Yeah.
it's very hard to create a new one, and on top of that, to maintain a group together. What do you think is like what works for you?
I think that's difficult because I also, let's say, my friend group back in Finland is still intact, but it's because it was really, really strong. We were like in the same school for 10 years. It was like a special case where you're just together 24/7.
Yeah.
And a lot of us live abroad at some point, and we meet regularly. We have like annual traditions, and like I know even if I don't see them for the whole year, I will see them for Christmas or you know. But I think it's a bit different. I think if I met someone now, like a group, and moved abroad, I'm not sure if I could keep that. Now I think my group, let's say here in Berlin as well, even if I moved away, it would still stay intact. But it takes time and effort. And I think my group here in Berlin now works because we talk a lot. It's like you either have to talk often, or when you meet, you have to be quite deep, but like not fake deep. So for example, we don't see each other that often. If we then, when we see each other, would choose to like small talk, hey, what's up, whatever, maybe it wouldn't work. But if you go into like, if you're quite open when you meet each other, then it can work. Because sometimes I see some friends like really once a year, and it works because you can pick off where you left.
Yeah.
So you need either like regularly to do stuff, or do it really rarely, but somehow maintain a connection.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that you have to see each other every day or every week or even every month.
And you have a group chat, of course.
That's, I think, without like online text, like what is it called? Social media, like Instagram DMs, like no, like,
I look at you. I look at you as if I didn't understand what you meant.
Just so
yes.
like without social, I don't know. Imagine if you had to send like an email every time you wanted to send a meme. Like it doesn't work.
No, but I think I get it, because I mean, for my group of friends, if we didn't have a group chat, I think we would see each other once a month.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Randomly.
you have a group chat, you right there. And if that friend group is abroad, then of course you just have to maintain it by, sometimes you just communicate by sending stupid things and you don't have to even say anything.
You have friends with that you don't have to talk with that often to maintain the connection.
Yeah, because I have like honestly a handful of friends where I call regularly, like let's say friends in Finland or in the UK or somewhere, where I still try to call them often. But it takes so much time, even if it's 1 hour, it's always 1 hour. I mean, you know, if you start calling, sometimes, I mean, I can't even do one of these calls a week. Like it is quite tiring. You want to do something else, and so you can't do this with everyone. Otherwise, you're gonna just be on the phone.
I have like a phone call with my best friend. We try to do it often, and last time, every time it brings me so much everything, energy, will to leave.
No, really. Like it's just, you have to do it, but then you're like,
we'll try to set up a monthly, but I overlook it in my calendar every time. I'm like, nope, like don't have time, don't have the.
Yeah.
It's like going to therapy. Like it's like I don't have the will sometimes to go deep, and then I go there, and then I open the little lead, and then it's like.
Yeah, you feel better afterwards, but like the thought of doing it is sometimes tiring. But yeah, no, it's good to have a mix. I think it's also important to have different kinds of friends. So like I know I have some friends where I know that I really communicate by once a month talking about deep stuff, but some people I never do that with, and I've never done it, and it doesn't have to ever happen. Like especially I would say maybe more with guy friends that like I think we're very close friends for years and years, but like we never talk about feelings, or maybe I talk about feelings and they just look at me and go like, okay,
Yeah.
but it works somehow, like it has to somehow.
I realized that with one of my best friend, we've never really talked about like romantic relationship that deeply,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
like intimacy or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah,
But we feel so close because of how we support each other in other
yeah,
areas. And I think it's the same with some of my girlfriend. Maybe we'd never talked about, I mean, it's rare, but work or something too deeply.
yeah, yeah,
And then we will connect over advice on relationship or whatever. And you go on vacation also with them. So
yeah,
this bonds you in like other ways. I think when you experience something outside of like the routine, or like when you go on an adventure together.
yeah. Actually, now that I fully forgot that, but actually I think that's the best way to keep in touch, because I started going on more holidays. I think last year I went on 3 or 4 like friend holidays with different people, and they really bind. Like I also went to Greece a few times to visit a Greek friend that I haven't seen. We had like during the COVID years, we had like 5, 6 years that we didn't see each other. We also didn't talk that much, and then we just decided to start again this annual trip to either Greece, or now we're planning it to Finland. And it really feels like we never had this 5 year gap where we really didn't even talk. We're now like super deep in talks. We try to like call each other once a month minimum, or send voice notes, and do this every year. And I feel like she's one of my closest friends, even though there was this like random 5 year gap. So I think, and maybe without saying, hey, I'm gonna fly to Greece next week, whatever, I don't know if we would now be in touch even, because by
Yeah.
now it would be like an 8 year gap. So, so sometimes you also need this trip to really spend some time together. And
I sometimes feel like I'm closer to my friend that lives abroad
yeah,
and I don't talk with that often than like friends that are here. And it's not like comparing, it's more like I feel like sometimes here we're like more on the everyday. So
yeah,
like we
true.
talk and we laugh about like their jokes and
Yeah,
everything. But then we like you sit down and you talk with your long distance friends and you start talking about every people and you can be so objective with them,
yeah.
or like you can actually take a step back and tell them exactly how you feel. I think this creates like such a deeper bond. And then when this person knows everything about you without knowing necessarily the people, you're like,
Yeah, you can be more honest as well, because
yeah,
that's actually important. Like I think my friends or cousins or family who doesn't like, they don't know certain people, then I can really say exactly what I think, and
yeah,
then they actually maybe know more about some other people than my friends who actually know these people. But yeah, I think also if you spend time on holiday, maybe it's also because you wouldn't go on holiday with people you don't know that well, so it's
yeah.
also a reinforcing factor. But like you really go deep, and you can't spend a week somewhere, let's say, alone with someone and then not go deep, because you're just going to run out of topics at some
I
point.
mean, yeah. I wanted to ask you also, do you think also a group of friends that works is, I don't know, how is it in your group of friends? Is everyone in a relationship?
So I have different groups. It's not on purpose. So let's say my group of friends in Finland, for years and years and years, even before my latest relationship, it was always that I was in a relationship and everyone else was single, apart from maybe one person. Obviously, literally the month, not the year, but the month that I broke up, I was like, finally, I can join the single group. Every single person is dating. Literally, apart from one person, let's say out of 15, 20 people, everyone else suddenly that year or month.
Married.
Yeah. Some are like married, truly, and like people who had been single their whole lives are suddenly in a committed relationship. And if, let's say, the breakup was like a year and a half ago or something like this, it all happened really fast. But from that group, like from that moment, people found their partners. Some are already married, and the rest are getting married or having babies. And I'm like, what the, it's that was weird. On the other hand, I don't know if it's coincidental, but the friend group in Berlin, everyone is single or dating, like, but no one is in a committed. No, okay, it's 1 or 2 people are in a committed relationship, but it's definitely like a more single vibe. But it could also be Berlin, because I think everyone's single in Berlin. Because
That's
even
true.
when I was dating, most of my friends were not in Berlin.
But going back to this, I think that's the thing. I think it's the key of having a successful group of girlfriends. Sometimes it's being in the similar
Yeah,
situation
yeah,
relationship wise. Because, for example, my group of friends, we really, really bonded when we were all single.
yeah,
That was the best time. It was harmony. It was beautiful. it was laughters, crying of tears of joy and laughters because of the stories. But I always felt like this is when we bonded. And because of this, when we got into a relationship later, and I have that one friend when we always get in a relationship at the same time. Every time we got in a relationship, we could make this great group of friends and everything last, just because we had experienced this initial single moment where we were all. Because when you're single, you're free. You sleep at everyone's place.
You have more time.
You go on vacation whenever.
Exactly.
Not that when you're in a relationship, you shouldn't do that. Actually, I want to practice this with being in a relationship.
Yeah.
But then if someone else is in a relationship, you might have like more people involved in the decision making of going out, of drinking, of course, obviously dating. Going on vacation and everything, because you have more,
factors that you have to consider. Yeah. I fully agree. I also think I would say so I'm also guilty of this now that I think back to when I was dating. I should have, like you said, like kept it more, really prioritize friendships. And I had this discussion with some of my good friends after the breakup saying, actually, like also I was looking in the mirror and they were also giving feedback in terms of, it's good to maintain. I still felt like I maintained independence within the relationship, but maybe with friends, like it is easy to then not do all trips with your partner, but like the maturity, or like maybe you visit your family and you go, and just accidentally you haven't been on a trip with your friends for like 2 years, which would never happen now. Like again, we do it many times a year, but but I think it's a bit the responsibility of the one who's in a relationship to make sure they don't.
I fully agree.
It's so easy to just. I think if you're in a relationship, you never have to plan anything because you can go to gym or Pilates and then have your free time and hang out with your partner. And in a way, that's enough,
Yeah.
And then you can hang out with your friends when it's convenient, but you don't have to if you don't want to. And that often happens that you just spend less time.
I think it's also beautiful to be in a relationship where like both people prioritize themselves. I think it's still tricky though. If I'm honest, like it's like I can see when like it gets cold or anything, how I can just get into my comfort zone very fast of like, oh, but what if we just chill? What if I cancel this and that? And like, which I try to do less and less. And I try to still see, is there any trip I can do with my friends or going out? But
I think
it's work.
Yeah, I know. But it is also normal because I do the same. Like now that it's cold, so it's not necessarily that if you didn't hang out with your boyfriend, you would hang out with your friends, because it could also just be that you would hang out at home alone because it's cold, exactly. And I think it is always good to, I want to say it's good to always prioritize friends, because eventually, like you said, even for comfort, laziness, whatever, you're going to end up spending more time with your partner in any case. But that actually isn't necessarily true. I think it's also important to learn to balance both. So yeah, you shouldn't feel guilty for hanging out with your boyfriend, because that's also important. You can't also just be your friend.
I think I how do you say, it's like
you demonize.
Yeah. I used to demonize spending time with like my boyfriend, thinking it was a bad thing.
Yeah.
But then I also feel like now when I hang out with my friend who are in a relationship and they do the same, that's when I feel the most calm about it. I actually, in my relationship right now, I don't feel this at all. I used to feel this a lot back in the day, but right now I never feel guilty because I feel like it's very balanced.
Yeah,
for me at least. And yeah, I also feel like it's okay and it's normal, and if especially because he's someone who's pushing me to do stuff like this, like pursue my hobby, my friends and everything.
Yeah.
But still my biggest problem is I say yes to too many things.
Yeah. But I think, so we were talking about this before the podcast, but like if you're someone who gets energized from doing things and you're like an extrovert who's very active, like what is, of course at some point you might get burnout from things you didn't realize and it sneaks up on you, but like if you truly feel like something is energizing you and giving you like, you're passionate about something, then I think you shouldn't think too much about, you can't say yes to everything. At some point you have to sleep and, eat and go to Pilates, whatever. But like, I just keep on going back to Pilates. I'm thinking about that or whatever. But yeah, I also wouldn't worry about it too much. But yeah, you can, of course, do too much.
How is it like for you to then, how is like your dating schedule, or like how is it like for you, and how do you experience it in Berlin, and like also around your friendship and everything?
I go through phases because I would say dating, if you dating takes a lot of time, even if you just go on like first dates, but you say yes to, not saying that there are that many interesting men in general, but Berlin is such a big place that even if you're very picky, like honestly, even if I say yes to every like 1 out of 300, that is quite a lot of people in Berlin because there's so many people. So like if you then want to go and give everyone a chance, like even for a first date, you have to kind of go out minimum, I would say, once a week to go on a date. And I've really struggled with that because I also say yes to everything and I had my routine. So I have a full routine with my friends, workout, work, Pilates, whatever, sleep. And then I'm trying to add to this, even this one extra date. It's actually really difficult. And I go through phases. Like in January, I just decided I'm not going to go on any dates. And I did a full, like, dry January, but just from guys.
Literally.
Literally. And then I did feel calmer, more like energized. And all my friends were like, oh, you should do this more often. I was like, I agree. But then the 1st of February, I had a first date because I was like, okay, the month is over. So like, I go between finding, I do generally like dating. I know a lot of people find it really draining, whatever, but I think I generally like meeting new people. So I like it, but there I can do too much. Like you really notice that like some weeks you just had too many dates. You didn't have your routine, which I think is important, even if your routine is meeting friends or whatever, sleeping, whatever. And then I noticed like, okay, I can't do this for 2 weeks and then you start again. But yeah, I find it difficult to match schedules in Berlin when there's so much.
Yeah.
I think if it was a smaller place where you really have less activities, or if you're a person who does less in general and you have more free time, of course that's easy. If you have someone like you already have a full schedule, very challenging. So yeah, I don't know what the solution is here. Maybe I have a good answer. Maybe I should stop dating. It does take a lot of time, I feel.
I think dating on top of, I mean, it is, and especially when we talk again about like the connections and the like we talked about in friendship, you know, and like making sure that you have the chemistry and everything. And do you have the feeling that you're dating like for fun, for like feeding the friendship that you have? I feel like it's such a good topic to have in friendship. Or do you feel like you have the intention of like you want to find someone and start being together with someone again?
Wait, what do you mean feeding the friendship with the men or with my? Because it's also a topic that I talk a lot about with my friend, like female friends. Like it is a source of entertainment.
Yeah.
But you mean the finding friendship with men? You mean?
Because back in the day, I think when we had this dating phase, the main purpose was how much we could collect
Friends.
and talk about it.
Yeah.
Stories.
Yeah.
Not friends. But that's interesting actually, if you're also dating to meet friends.
Yeah, not really. So because sometimes, immediately, like what we talked about earlier, like with friends, if there's chemistry with men, it even faster. So like, I really try not to go even on a first date if I know that for some reason there's no vibe. Sometimes you can give a second chance, whatever. But like generally speaking, if I think it's gonna be a friendly vibe, I don't even bother to go out even once. It does sometimes. Oh yeah, you're laughing. Sometimes sometimes it happens that like you have had a few dates and like you just realize it's not gonna like work out. And often it's a guy suggesting like, okay, if you don't want to go out again, we can stay friends. But actually, there I normally say no, because if it's been going towards dating, like what's the point of becoming friends? It has happened a few times where I thought, okay, this could be a great friendship, but again, it hasn't worked out because at some point they're still like.
Yeah.
Men are also really simple, so they just send something stupid. And if you get like a weird message from a friend, that's fine. But if you get it from someone who you've been on a few dates with, then it's obviously a bit different. So yeah, don't plan on dating for meeting friends, but I do definitely use it to have funny stories in. Not maybe, that's not like I'm not going on dates to have crazy stories, but if you go on dates, you do definitely end up having really, really weird stories, especially in Berlin. And sometimes I don't even think I have the weirdest stories from my friend group. Like the stories are just like you couldn't make them up. Like they're so weird and disturbing. Like there are really strange people out there. And this is also after being quite like picky and intentional, like not just going out with every random person on the street. So I can only imagine what kind of stories people have if they really just go for it and meet everyone. I don't know.
Do you meet a lot of people like actually in person?
Like in person, yeah.
No.
The date is in person, but meet them like outside of the apps, you mean? Or
Yeah.
Yes and no. I think in Berlin, it's very specific. Like people ask, I think guys ask people out only very often at the gym, which I don't think I've ever said yes at the gym, because for me it's like a sanctuary. Like I want to work out, and if someone, even if it's someone interesting, I don't like being approached at the gym, so I just say no. Or at like coffee shops. But I don't think it's ever happened. Maybe it's happened 2 times the whole time that I've been in Berlin that I meet someone that I then say yes to, because it happens obviously less than meeting someone like through friends or like on the apps or something. And then it has to be quite lucky that that person is your type enough to go out. I think somewhere else like Italy, like it's more common. Like also people use the apps less, and there it really happens super regularly. And maybe because I'm obsessed with Italian men, I just then
Maybe they're obsessed with you.
Yeah, well, anyway, but like there it happens a lot more. But I would say in Berlin, not so often.
You feel like it's cultural? I mean,
Yeah.
the first thing that I've learned in German classes is like German guy don't approach women, for example.
Yeah, exactly. I think German women approach men more, from what I've understood, than the guys. German guys I don't date anymore. I've dated them in the past, and it's always a nightmare because I can't read German men. Like I've had guys who then later say like, "Oh, I obviously was in love with you," and I thought they don't like they really don't show it. They don't smile at you. They don't say it with words. They don't show it with anything, and then you're just meant to. Maybe they say it once, and you're meant to accept that. That doesn't work for me. So what was it? I'm just like bashing on
that like
through friends or
through friends is a good one.
Yeah,
I always feel like, because I've met also people through friends, but like that I really didn't know, and then some of them that you kind of build to know, and then something happened. And I always feel like if it's not through friends, there's so many. I already get suspicious when it's someone that I know, but when someone that you don't know from nowhere and you have no background, I think it's so weird to get interested in some ways. I don't know why, but maybe it's from my own experience. But like I always feel freaked out.
Yeah, it's true. Like I don't like if I check that we have a lot of mutual friends. I don't love that. Like if it's too many, I don't love it just because I don't know. I get commitment issue. I don't know what it is. Like the thought. That's why I don't always like meeting people through friends either, because I feel like there's not that there's any expectation from anyone, but like I think this is my commitment issues. Like I get the feeling that it's not more serious, but like
it's set up.
Not that I'm gonna like go someone super meanly, but like I do feel like because there's a tie to someone, you have to behave yourself. I don't know, like it's a bit more
I get it.
But also if I check and there's 0 mutual friends, especially obviously if it's abroad, whatever, like you don't know someone in every country necessarily, but if it's in a city you've lived in, it is a bit suspicious. Like it almost makes you think like, is this a real person? Like are they a fake account? Like literally, because and
then being together with them in the house, and then it freaks me out. I don't know why.
That's good, because it's good to be safe, everyone. Don't go to people's house.
Stay safe. What do you think was like your biggest support through like being quote unquote alone in the city at the beginning, or like
after the breakup? Again, female friends, like friendships. So that's where my like actually in the very beginning, my like let's say old friends from even from before Berlin, so from Finland, like I always knew they're really good friends, but like they really stepped in. I could cry about this. I almost cry every time I think about this, because they really like saved my life. They stepped in. Also my family, of course, but like I have a bunch of like really good friends who like really. Sometimes I think about it even randomly now, and I'm like, damn, they really stepped in. Like, I don't know, they just let me vent. And even, I think I went back to Finland for a week or something at some point, but otherwise this was all also remotely. Like I was in Berlin, they were in Finland, they had their own stuff, and they spent like, I don't know how much time they spent like listening to me, like complain or cry or something. And they really they were so amazing. So like I obviously knew they're amazing, but it was like amazing to see that like in reality they also like really stepped in. And of course they're still there for me if I need support, but like in that moment when it was really like super needed, it's like it was really, really, really amazing. And also, yeah, my family, even like my brother, like we're very close, but we're very different. But I went back home and like he took me out and he was like, okay, let's go. I don't know, like really random ideas like axe throwing or like this room where you can break stuff, or like I think in the end we went just to like drink wine and complain. But like I think it was quite sweet because it's not something we normally do. But he really just like, yeah, just really like, yeah, friends. I honestly like, yeah, I don't know what I would have done. So yeah, when I say like, oh, I found a new friend group, whatever, like of course I didn't. Like I had my support group, which is really amazing. And I had the support still from the, let's say, the old friend group in Berlin that I maybe couldn't hang out with that much. Like they were still there. Maybe I didn't see them that much, but like it wasn't that they all said like, oh, fuck off and disappeared fully. Maybe over time a bit because of this.
Yeah, because you rebuild yourself
Yeah.
at the same time, and then they can see that as well. I think maybe also you not reaching out that much also give them the clue that you were like.
Yeah, and I think after, which is, it's quite interesting, after the whole thing, like quite recently, let's say like a year and a half after the breakup, we have then talked with some of these friends, like had some even arguments about it and like how it all went down. And now we have established a good function in friendship again, but it had to go through this like kind of, because the setting is completely new. You can't hang out in the same, we used to all go to trips together, but obviously with my ex there, so that doesn't work. So like, yeah, it's all practically very difficult to organize, but I think like the good friends will stay.
Yeah.
Still, but maybe there's it can be almost 2 years in this case that it's like you're not really friends or you don't hang out, or yeah, you can still get back to.
I always had the feeling, and I think I talked to you about this. Was it with you? I always had the feeling that a breakup is painful, of course, and horrible. And I think I don't wish for anyone to go necessarily through it.
Yeah.
But it had always opened new portals for me.
Yeah. I
met
think we talked about this.
so many amazing girlfriends after each breakup.
I think it's really like at least mine was super, like this specific break. I've had breakups before, but this was really, really tough. Again, don't wish it on ever. Like it was really difficult, but I fully agree. Like I still can't say I wish it happened because it was so difficult, but I think I'm definitely a better version of myself. And you definitely, it's also like, sounds like cliche, but like you really grow, but in ways that I don't think it's possible to grow like that without it. Like you have to, and you are your best version. I think so. Even when I was in a relationship, I still believe that people are their best version when they're single. This is a bit, even if like I like relationships, but I do think you're more creative. Because you just by default focus more on yourself. So you are your best version single, but somehow when you're single, but after a breakup, you have to reinvent yourself and get rid of some things about your personality you didn't like from before. Like you do become a new person and you find out who your real friends are and you meet new people. And I think there's something, because I think, again, all these amazing friends that I met right after the breakup, like I think there is something also in the energy that you do meet the right people. Because again, now I don't think I consciously I'm less friendly or something when I'm out, but I do meet less people. So I think the universe also gives you always like what you need kind of like in that moment. And then you're like, okay, everything's fine. Like you can,
I mean,
rebuild.
And we talked a lot about the lucky girl syndrome.
I love this.
And just believing that good thing happened to us. But I do think it's a mindset. I don't know how you see it, but I feel like for sure you can think the universe is plotting against you when a breakup happened, when you lose your job, when something terrible happened. And I do fully think that not everything is to put on the universe and there's unfair things happening. And I'm not generalizing here, but for the most like soft things or like things that could happen, technically, it's so beautiful to see the outcome of how things turns out.
Yeah.
You just have to believe in the biggest picture and like that good thing will happen.
Yeah.
Do you see that a lot in your life of like, I mean, you've experienced it.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, definitely. So if I just think, so I really believe in this lucky girl, like you said, like it's not about everything. So sometimes something like if someone dies that, I don't think there's always sometimes really bad things just happen. But like you said, for smaller things, like things in your life, I think you can really just choose to, for minor inconveniences, you can definitely choose to believe that it's happening for a reason or look at the bright side. for bigger things, like even the breakup, like at the time, I think you just, it's difficult sometimes to believe that something good could come out of it. But it always does, like, and then looking back, it's easy to say like, okay, this is all amazing. But like, even after, you only need to have like one really nice thing, like meet one cool person. And then just to think like, okay, this would not have happened if that horrible thing didn't happen. And that already really helps, even if it's just really one cool thing or one cool opportunity at work that you would have said no to, or one new hobby. Like literally, I think I started Pilates only after, again, back to Pilates, but like I started it after the breakup. Not that it was related necessarily, but I sometimes think like, maybe if I was in a relationship, I would just stay at home that Wednesday, whatever.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have met, but also I wouldn't now do Pilates, which I really love. Or like, there's so many things that happen just because, everything is a choice. So even bad things lead to good things by default because they have to, like.
And probably this experience will lead you to think, I don't know if you get in a relationship, think like, I want to keep doing the things.
Yeah.
Like it just teaches you and show you how you can improve your life, or like, because it's true, like what you said, it's like, it's choices, and it's like how much I'm capable of controlling the things that I can control again. But how much, I think the learning that I got from my past breakup really taught me how to show up, and even still work, because when you go back to your old partner, like obviously, or like not obviously, but most likely.
Yeah.
And then, but once you know, and when you have some keys, you just do things a bit better, or like But for the everything about the lucky girl syndrome, I think is such a funny thing, because I think people sometimes are just like, it's just a saying and you cannot just really make it happen. But I think believing that good thing happens to you is really such an energy shift.
No, and I think it's even been, I think we talked about this before as well, like it's if you believe in something, you're more likely to go for things. So if you of course, if you think the outcome is good, you're gonna, maybe the difference is just that you wouldn't try something new if you think you're gonna fail. If you think you're gonna succeed, you try, and then you're more likely to succeed. So it can really just be like a very simplistic reason. But I think they even studied this, because I studied psychology for a bit, and there's like some proof to like the fact that positive thinking really does like brings you more. Like
Crazy.
if you have the same exam in school, everything's the same, but if you believe you're going to get a good grade, you will get a better grade, like by default. But it's not magic, but it's more like you then study more, or you go into the exam less nervous and you perform better. It's like there is like, it's not all woo woo magic. There is a part I do believe in, like part of the woo woo. Like sometimes it's good to also just like visualize things, and then that's a motivation in itself. But the majority of the things, it's just like, it does really help. Of course, if you think like, okay, on days when you've really decided to have a good day and you proactively are in a good mood, you will have a better day, because people react to you better. Like if I was having, I think I was having a bad day when we met, but if I had like fully, I don't know, if you say hi and I go like, shut up, like the outcome is worse, so by choosing to have a good day and choosing to be like
it's true. It's like setting intention.
Yeah.
I always make this joke with like finding a parking spot that if you're with me and you will get lucky and get one. But I think I'm just hardly looking for one.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I'm like overly looking everywhere, or like doing 10 rounds because I make the person believe, no worries, just turn again. Which is most likely that you're just trying harder.
Yeah, exactly. And then some things are probably like
woo-woo magic.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have pretty privilege, or
of course,
different privileges and stuff. Of course.
Of course you do.
But it's all mindset. And you can't always be optimistic and happy. I think that's also important, to have days when you really crash out and you accept that you're having a horrible day. But like, generally speaking, it's good to believe that good things are coming, because they will.
Yeah. Did you had a shift of like not thinking that, and then one day just assuming things just would work out for you? Or like, did you had an example of life showing you?
Yeah, I think I was always even before lucky girl syndrome was a thing. I think I was really doing it in my life, so I always really assumed things would work out. And I think then I worked hard. So I don't know, I had this idea I want to move abroad when I graduated from high school. I think a lot of people thought I wouldn't do it. I got some crazy, requirements from the university that no one thought I could, get to.
Yeah.
But because I thought I could do it, I just worked through. So like I had this mindset and everything always works out, but it wasn't, I think I worked to make them happen. And I think after the only time I didn't really believe, like have a really positive outlook on life was after the breakup. I really had a crash. Um, and then I remember thinking it was very difficult to see like, okay, things are going to get better or something. But it was quite quickly, even before I started feeling like things are going to get better. I think I made a conscious shift, not immediately, of course, but like even like, let's say a week after, I still felt absolutely horrible. But I was like, okay, I'm going to pretend that I'm going to have a positive outlook and act accordingly. And then because otherwise like, you can't just stay home and, I don't know, cry.
Yeah.
So I was doing things that I would be doing if I had a positive outlook, which I didn't at the time. So I still went to gym. I still hung out with my friends. I still went to work. But, things you have to do to keep going. And then after a while, you realize like it works. But I think you have to do the things in order to see that things will work out. So
I think this is also what therapy taught me, because my vision of therapy before going to therapy was like the therapist is just gonna heal me.
yeah, you don't have
Like
to do anything.
it's gonna be like, "Shoo,"
Yeah,
I remove everything that makes you suffer.
yeah,
But I think what it taught me is like, you have to just look at things differently.
yeah,
Or, I mean, of course, there's a lot of internal work, but every time I went to therapy, I always thought, okay, we just talk bullshit, or I just talked a random story, or she just answered something and it made me think this or that. But what happened in the after is like the whole week after, my
Yeah.
whole perspective and will change, and my reaction to things will change.
yeah,
And that's when, I mean, it's a very famous quote of like, you're not what happened to you, your reaction
yeah.
to it. And I don't think I've fully understood that. I thought it would be different, but then it's just small.
Yeah,
And then once you push through, everything is kind of like easier than you think. Like even setting up those, so I have new mics, as you can hear, but even setting up those mics looks so hard
Yeah.
to do, but you just have to push through because you want to make it work.
Yeah.
And it's not, I could say like, I'm so lucky things will work out for me, but we
You
actually
have to,
tried hard,
yeah,
you
you
know?
have to do it yourself at first.
But somehow just being able to do the shift of like, okay, how do I want to, like, how do I react to this or that? Also change the reaction of other people around you.
Yeah, of course.
Then create your own new reality. And I couldn't understand the concept. And often I'm thinking, every time I'm listening to something that is a bit inspiring or whatever, without going to therapy, I don't think you can fully do the work by yourself.
Yeah,
And this external help just help you putting things into perspective. It's not that you're weak to do it alone. It's just like you need a reflector.
yeah. I think the perspective thing is really, because I think the main thing you can learn is really how to react to things. I think I used to think it's more like how you externally react. And I was like, okay, but I'm not fighting people or crying over things. But internally, maybe you take things really seriously and it feels like that's the absolute reality, you know? If something feels like a serious, stressful thing, sometimes I used to think like, objectively it's a serious stressful thing, but then if you reframe it and you're like, actually objectively it's nothing, I can choose not to, then it's difficult to sometimes not become stressed still about certain things, but like you can at least consciously be like, okay, actually there's no objective reason for me to react to this in a negative way. I can also choose to be like excited about something that's maybe making me nervous or something, and then it actually works and I'm like, oh, we're actually very simple, we can just choose to, I don't know, we're like plants, we get some sunlight and we choose to not stress, and that's it. Of course, some situations are heavier, but like everyday life, like you can really change your mindset.
I mean, I know that like when, and again, we're talking from a place of like privilege and
Yeah.
kind of like, we're talking for our, based on our own experience, but I know that I wake up some morning and it's hard and I'm dealing with a lot of internal struggle and everything sometimes. But one or two sentences that I use right now is like, first of all, I wake up and I tell myself that I'm brave.
Yeah.
This really helps me getting out of bed and starting working, or like getting to the appointment or getting where I need to. But I really need to tell myself this a lot. Like, you're brave. You're so brave. And the second thing, to remove any blockers, because I think sometimes I have a lot of blockers in things that I don't know how to do,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like that seems too big for me. And I'm telling myself, okay, today we're making mistakes. And this helped me so much starting things.
Yeah, true.
And I was just like, I'm just going to do it badly. And most likely what's going to happen is that someone is going to help me fix it.
Yeah, exactly.
I can reach out to people. This is just,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know.
I think to do anything, because I think often the main issues is, at least for me, is I don't start because I think this is a common issue. You don't start because it has to be perfect, but you don't
Yeah.
accept that to get perfect, it has to be, you
Yeah.
have to go through the steps of it being very bad. And eventually, if you've gone through those steps, it doesn't probably even matter that it's not perfect in the end. It's just the thought of starting, knowing that it's very difficult and it's going to take a long time. And normally it doesn't even take that long. Like you can get help from one person and maybe that's all fixed, or you know.
Yeah.
But is this something you learned in therapy? I'm going to start using this mental mantra, like the being brave and stuff. Is this something you learned from there, or?
I think even from Pilates, even like, or like any places, I think from therapy, definitely, she taught me a bit you can talk yourself out of things, because you tell yourself your narrative. And I realize when a situation happened, my therapist is like, do you think this?
Yeah, exactly. So it's not objective, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I always realize that the more I'm my own enemy, basically.
Yeah.
I'm basically telling myself the things I should feel and then
Yeah.
stay in my own loop and, just like,
Yeah.
But like, I do feel like my therapist helped me getting there, but I had to find something that was quick and efficient for me. And especially you're brave is probably the only thing that really keep me going.
Yeah. But I think it's, because we do so much, at least, if you're a specific kind of person, I do this as well. We do so much negative self-talk that we never, I think it's good to replace some of it with concrete positive self-talk. But I think it's just, it's not something you think about unless you start doing it and actually implement.
And I think it always made me feel great to talk with you about how I felt. I felt very understood. And I feel like we were going through similar.
Yeah.
I've never related that much, I think, to someone brainly.
I think we have very similar brain wirings, which is not great because it leads to its own problems. But that's why I'm really curious to hear what worked for you, because I think it's the same thing is going to work for me. Because again, I fully agree. I think I'm my biggest enemy, and often if I list my issues, someone might be like, none of these are objective issues. These are all things you've created in your head. So then you could potentially change your mindset. That's really, if it's about internal self-talk, that's the most difficult thing to change. But I think something like this,
you have to, for sure. I mean, for everything, I realize if you want to make it sustainable, you have to keep it short, small, and you don't have to go for 1 hour positive self-talk or anything. It can be one thing. But don't you have any rituals? Do you have any rituals?
I mean, I think even like routines, because routines don't come naturally to me because I'm quite a chaotic person. But if I force I notice if I don't do by routines, I mean like even going to Pilates or like having a specific time to go to bed, which might be very late, but sticking to some sort of routines, it's not natural to me. But if I don't do it, I notice that it really affects like there's more chaos in my head as well, and like also mentally. Or even like, I don't know, forcing myself to clean my space, even like in the morning, even if I don't feel like small, really simple things, but like, no.
You struggle to do your bed?
Yeah. Since forever, like since I was a kid. And that's another routine. Like this sounds crazy, but really like starting in the morning by making your bed, like having a few wins in the morning because I also wake up grumpy, tired. I'm my most negative. I'm not a morning person. So like my first thought is like a very negative, like, oh, here we go again, I'm tired, whatever. But if you can then get something done, even if you're grumpy and tired, like, I don't know, empty the dishwasher, then it's a good start. But yeah, no, I struggle more to like once I have a routine or like a, I don't know, workout routine I follow, like I it's easy to keep it going. It's just if I stop doing things that it falls apart. So
yeah.
But
I
I
relate
have
to
many
that.
routines.
I don't know if I have like when I sleep at my place and I kind of have my routine. Sometimes it freaks me out because Also, that's one thing. I don't know if I talked about this already somewhere.
Somewhere.
Because I'm a public person.
Yeah.
But you know how so we have a thought process, and I've learned this by watching this movie called Everything Everywhere All at
Yeah.
Once. We talked about this.
Yeah.
I think I told you this already. Because it helped me so much to do anything. So this is my second tip. Second tip
Okay.
of the podcast.
Perfect.
When I'm in a loop, or when I'm very much deep into my overthinking, or I don't know, I'm there. I'm in my head.
Yeah.
What helps me is interrupting the pattern by doing something that I wouldn't normally do. So let me explain. I wake up and I think I'm a creator of habits. I have my habits, even if it's chaotic, even if it's not making my bed and waking up and going to the toilet and then drinking water, whatever it is, I would do those things pretty much the same. When I do my makeup, it's pretty much the same and everything. And sometimes to just interrupt it, I will just change the eye I do my mascara first. Or I will just drink from my left hand. It's just small action that I wouldn't by habit do that completely interrupt. For example, today I did my first driving license class. I can tell you I had zero thought.
Oh yeah.
Because I was doing new.
Yeah.
Everything was so new. And so every time I make a move, like a body movement, like I move my body, because it's really about experiencing the outside more like the being internally. So, I mean, this is my opinion on this, but it always interrupts the process of thinking. And I think it can really cut negative self to also bring on the, positive in the. Anyways, you just have to interrupt the pattern.
Yep. I think, I'm going to start doing this. I haven't done it yet, but what I started doing is, I think this came from TikTok, but like all these morning routines, I don't know, Chinese medicine, something like you start jumping 100 times, then you swing your arms, whatever. I don't know if it's
it's lymphatic.
It is lymphatic, but there is also something like it's meant to make you wake up, whatever.
Yeah.
At least what it does is, it's very silly. So if you're in a bad mood and you start jumping and whatever, like you do realize a bit like, okay, my stressful meeting is not very serious because I'm out here jumping. But also, it is also a routine, but it's something you wouldn't normally do. And then it gets you, I don't know, out of again, into your body and out of your brain. Because again, I think the issue is just, I never have an issue if I'm doing sports or out with friends or doing something physically in a space. I never have an issue of this loop of thinking or whatever. Just like thinking of, I don't know, negative things. It only happens if you're alone at home and you're not moving. So like, I think anything to get out of the physical being trapped in your brain basically and thinking of catastrophizing. So it can be really small things like this jumping. Like it's really, really stupid, but it works.
Do you know that if you smile, your brain cannot?
Yeah, it's so stupid.
So many times.
I know. Yeah. But apparently it really like activates the same part of your brain. But it's so stupid. But then I get into a better mood, but mostly because it's so ridiculous to be doing something.
I look at the mirror and I just smile like crazy for like 2 minutes, and then I'm like, you're completely insane.
Yeah. But I think every time the sun comes out, especially now in Berlin, it's been great for 3 months, I feel. Once I see 1 second of sun, immediately I'm a different person. I'm super happy. And I always remember, like, we're such simple, like, if that works, like, really, we're like plants, you get sun, you get, you start, you activate your endorphins. Everything else must work as well. Like, these silly things must work because getting sun is even simpler than smiling in the mirror or jumping or whatever.
I agree.
So I think there's many things we can do. And I think we're complicating things too much because often it really is just like, a bit of movement, like a walk. That's a routine. Like if I'm having a really bad day and I go for a walk, I'm just like, okay, it's not that serious. Like 30 minutes podcast, like it fixes almost everything, literally.
I mean, everyone says anyways that action helps with feeling stuck. I mean, the first thing that my therapist told me about me being in my head of me not feeling great and everything was, what are your objective? Where do you want to go?
Yeah.
And then I was a bit confused. I was like, oh, maybe I need. So she told me to do exercise to figure out what I wanted to do, what I wanted to put my energy in and everything. It came down for me to like reduce my hobbies.
Yeah.
to like one, maybe try to do the podcast, even if I do it badly, even if I do it wrong, even like just trying to make it better each time. Then second was like figure out what was my big achievement, I don't know, for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it is, having something to look forward to. And then what's the next step? It's moving towards it.
Yeah.
So even if it's like, it seems like it's physically walking somewhere,
Yeah.
but it's also putting the energy into the actions that leads you somewhere. And I mean, I know I'm a big planner, for example. I like to think of those things.
Yeah.
But the idea is like to actually
get things on.
Could be a walk, actually, to be honest. It has to be simple and to be sustainable.
Yeah, I think that's why I think that's a good tip to only focus on like one. I mean, obviously it depends. If you have 0 hobbies, maybe it's good to create one. But if you have 10 or 15, it's good to focus on a few, because otherwise you're not going to do anything. Like I notice, like I have all these creative hobbies, and in the end I do nothing, because I'm like, I could be reading, painting, running, doing this, meeting friends. In the end,
I do everything.
Yeah, and then what you end up doing is scrolling on your phone, maybe, because you're overwhelmed. But that's why I also like, normally I don't do like New Year's resolutions, but this year I did only one, which was to like, I picked one hobby, which was writing. So I've been meaning to write a book for like years and years and years, only planning it, putting it in my head, barely writing anything. But this year I only picked this. I wasn't like, oh, I need to paint and do this. I was like, I'm going to write the book. Can be a really bad version. It's a first draft. And now I actually, because I know it has to happen this year, I do every Sunday. I go to a cafe and I write my 1 or 2 pages. Like it's really slow, but at least I'm getting something done. Like even
You've done it the whole January now.
Yeah,